They called themselves the strongest in the galaxy, but they never met a human who wouldn't kneel. Long before the Empire's black ships darkened Earth's skies, the Vakar were legend. Warlords of living armor, they'd torn star systems apart with claws of iron and minds bound to hive lords older than human memory. Worlds knelt. Civilizations vanished in silence. No species resisted for long. And then they came to Sol, on a broken mining outpost orbiting Jupiter's ghost. Ring, a lone figure drifts through the ruin of what used to be Outpost Aegis 7. Her name is Ava Roslin, last surviving commando of the Sol Uprising's ghost wing. Her breath hisses in the silence. Rebreather cracked, suit leaking warmth into the void. A pulse beacon flickers on her wrist. Weak, dying, but stubbornly alive. Like her, Ava braces herself against the corridor wall, feeling the chill gnaw through her armor plates. The floor is littered with vacuum-frozen bodies, miners, engineers. Children wrapped in foil blankets that did nothing when the Vakar boarding claws ripped the hull apart. Her gloved fingers brushed the insignia scorched into the bulkhead. Aegis stands dotted didn't. Not for long. She lifts her rifle and keeps moving, heel over heel, drifting through the shattered ring corridor toward the command spire. She's hunted here, whispering to herself that if she can reach the old comms array, maybe Earth will know, maybe someone will hear before the Vakar's cleansing drones scour every last pocket of human. Defiance. Her helmet mitt crackles. A voice, raw with static. Roslin, this is Mercer. We have survivors in Dock 12. Vakar drones inbound, full sweep. Ava's lip curls. Mercer. He's always alive when he shouldn't be. That stubborn engineer who turns slave ships into war. Cruisers with duct tape and old reactor rods. She presses a hand to her ear. Copy. Get them to the shuttle. I'll buy you the minutes. Through the splintered viewport to her right, she glimpses the Vakar dreadnought drifting just beyond Jupiter's storms. Black scales of living metal flexing like a great beast stirring in sleep. They say a single Vakar hive lord can rip the atmosphere off a planet. Earth had 12 hours to surrender before the orbital lances fell. 12 hours to decide if the human race would kneel or burn. Ava remembered the news feeds, the cities collapsing, the last desperate transmissions from the Lunar Council. The blackout that followed when the Vakar cut Earth from its colonies like carving meat from bone. But they miscalculated. They thought humans would beg. They thought humans would break like glass. They never learned. Humans shatter like shrapnel. A red alarm flickers overhead. As she hears it, the skittering whisper of Vakar drones moving through the ring corridors, closing in on heat signatures. She kills her helmet light, presses herself into a pocket of shadow beneath a fractured conduit. Her pulse hammers. Her father's voice echoes in her mind. The memory is sharp as the frost biting her fingertips. If they come for us, Ava, you run. You find others. You remind them that to be human is to fight, even when fighting's done. She promised, and she's kept it, through years of fire and silence. She's kept it every time she buried another ghost wing comrade in an unmarked drift tomb. She's keeping it now, alone, surrounded by the strongest species the galaxy has ever known. Metal limbs clatter against the corridor. One drone, then another, spider-like machines of black bone and cotton plating, red optics sweeping it. Dark for the warmth of breath, Ava steadies her rifle, exhaling slowly. She can't shoot, not yet. If she fires now, the breach squad will zero in on Dock 12. Mercer, the survivors, all dead before they reach the shuttle. She runs a hand along. Her belt finds the last of her flash charges, small, cracked, but maybe enough. Strongest in the galaxy, the words crawl through her mind like poison. If they're so strong, why do they fear the spark? Why do they hunt shadows on dead stations? The drone nearest her pauses, sensor rays flicking over the bodies littering. The corridor, its voice is a whisper in ultraviolet, inaudible to human ears, but felt like a tremor under her skin. She imagines it cataloging her heartbeat, weighing her life against the Hive Lord's conquest. She flicks her visor display, a final glance at the pulse beacon's coordinate link. Dock 12, green. For now, she closes her eyes. Her thumb hovers over the charge fuse. If you must die, Ava, her father had told her. Die loud enough that they never forget your name. A flick, a spark. The corridor flares white. The drones shriek in frequencies no human throat could match. But Ava's already moving, rolling through zero-G debris, rifle shouldered, muzzle flaring once, twice, 3 times. The drones stutter, collapse, slag melt on the floor. Over. The comms, Mercer's voice is a whisper of disbelief. Rosalind, what the hell did you do? Ava floats in the aftermath, surrounded by drifting sparks and the frozen ghosts of Aegis 7's last stand. She breathes once, tastes blood where she bit her lip, and answers, I reminded them what we are, and somewhere in the deep black, beyond Jupiter, the strongest species in the galaxy shifts as a single ember flares against their dark. The Vakar hive lord known as Karith watches from the bridge of the dreadnought Ravenous Veil. It does not blink. It has no need. Its mind is legion, thought pulsing through the biocircuitry of its command spire, through its countless eyes, drones, watchers, reavers. It tastes the edges of human defiance flickering across outpost Aegis 7 like static. It should be nothing. A dead station, a fractured ring of iron and frozen bodies. Yet in that debris drifts a signal it did not calculate for. Human resistance, refusing to flicker out. Below, in the nerve core chamber, lesser Vakar gather in a circle of shifting plates and viscous pools of feeding gel. They hiss and chitter in ultraviolet pulses as Karith's tendrils tap the star chart, highlighting the soul system. Talon, too much effort for so little meat, and yet a single ember can burn a fleet. The Vakar learned that when they devoured the Nathri, one egg ship, overlooked, carried a virus that crippled the Kark hives for a generation. They will not repeat that mistake with humans. Karith's voice is thought. Broadcast to its swarm. Locate the spark. Purge the memory. Nothing remains. Ava drifts through the dark corridors of Aegis 7, heartbeat hammering in her ears. The flash charge bought her minutes, but the drones adapt fast. They always do. Her boots grip the deck as artificial gravity flickers to life around the command spire. The old mining core's reactor is awake again. A trick Mercer must have pulled to light a path for the shuttles. It makes her a beacon tube. She shoulders her battered rifle and moves toward the lift tube. Her pulse beacon pings green. Doc, 12 is still open. Maybe 50 souls waiting on Mercer's word. Old engineers, stowaways, broken families from the Europa Hall lines, people who refuse to kneel. She ducks through the shattered blast door into the command hub. What's left of it? Glass panels flicker with static. Holoscreens loop a warning. Biohazard breach. Stand clear. Ava laughs under her breath. The real biohazard is her, one human flame that won't snuff out. She slams a fist on the comms console. Dead. She pries a data cable from the cracked panel, jacks it into her suit's wrist pad. The interface hums, barely alive. Her helmet feeds her a burst of static. Then Mercer's voice cuts through like a lifeline. Rosalind, we're pinned. Dock 12 hour. Doors half breached. Vakar shredders on the hull. If we push off now, we'll scatter into the rings. Ava's eyes dart to the command window. Jupiter's vast storms roil beyond the fractured glass. A swirling abyss of gas and lightning. The dreadnought is out there, coiled in the shadow of the planet's magnetic field. She can almost feel it watching her like a hand pressing on her chest. Power up the rail batteries, she says. Fingers flying across the console. Sparks dance from exposed wires. I can vent the outer hull. Blow the drones clear. Rosalind, that'll blow you too. She smiles, a tight line in the darkness. Then don't be here when I do. She keys the override. The rail batteries on Aegis 7 are ancient, more ceremonial than functional now. Old mining lances repurposed when the uprising needed every rock with a cannon strapped to it. They won't kill a dreadnought, but they'll rip the skin off. Anything dumb enough to cling to Dock 12's spine. Ava's vision swims as the console overloads, heat blooming through her gloves. She tastes blood again, maybe from the cold, maybe from the memory of when she first saw a Vakar rip a man in half. At New Shanghai's orbital port, she'd been 19, clutching a pulse pistol that jammed after one shot. She survived because her sister didn't. She shakes the memory off. There's no room for ghosts when you're busy making new ones. She flicks the comms back on. Mercer, get them ready. His voice cracks, raw with static and defiance. Copy, ghost. Make it count. Outside the viewport, the drones begin to crawl over the ring corridor. Black carapaces glinting under Jupiter's electric glow. Ava counts the seconds in her head. One spark, and the strongest species in the galaxy will learn that strength means nothing when you're too arrogant to watch the shadows. A single tap. The batteries hum, a growl rising through the spire's bones. Ava braces against the console. Sparks rain around her. She closes her eyes, whispering to no one, to everyone. For the ones they forgot, the mining ring shudders. Twin lances of searing plasma roar down the corridor. White arcs splitting the drones apart like insects under a magnifying glass. The vacuum vents open. Whole plates shear away in a blossom of debris. The Vakar shriek through comms, a sound. Half machine, half ancient nightmare. Dot-12's outer skin glows in the distance, clear for launch. Mercer's voice, trembling. That did it. We're moving, gods, Rosalind. You. But Ava's console explodes in a burst of static and flame. Throwing her backward into the bulkhead, she gasps. Feels her ribs scream as the command hub fractures around her. The air is gone in an instant. Only silence and the cold, and the distant roar of the shuttle engines pushing off into the abyss. Somewhere beyond the cracked viewport, the dreadnought's shadow shifts, turning its attention fully on her. Now Dashi lies pinned under twisted steel, vision swimming. The strongest species in the galaxy has seen her spark. Now it's coming to snuff her out. And for the first time in years, Ava Rosalind is afraid she won't get back up. Ava drifts in the cold wreckage of the command hub, ribs burning with every ragged breath. Sparks flicker from the fractured console beside her, ghost of dying code. She can taste copper in her mouth, the suit's oxygen warning shrieking. In her ear like a heartbeat gone wrong. She could let go now. Let the void claim her. Let the Vakar erase her like they erase cities, colonies, whole histories. But in the black between the stars, a human spark only goes out when it chooses. She claws at the twisted bulkhead pinning her shoulder. Pain flashes white behind her eyes. Metal scrapes bone, and still she pushes. She thinks of her mother, wrapping blankets around her in the snow back when Earth still had seasons. She thinks of her sister's last smile on the Shanghai docks. She thinks of every name scratched into the bulkhead of Ghost. Wing's old gunship, the names they swore, would be remembered when they were gone. The beam gives way with a groan. She tumbles free, landing hard on the cracked deck plates. For a moment, she just lies there, staring through the shattered viewport at Jupiter's swirling eye. The dreadnought looms beyond, the ravenous veil of black wound against the storm. It should have moved on by now, hunting Mercer's fleeing shuttle. But it hasn't. It wants her. The ember that refused to die. Ava drags herself upright. Her suit's auto mender tries to seal the gash at her hip. Does a poor job of it. Every step is fired down her spine. But she moves. She has to, somewhere. In the lower decks, a service hangar might still hold a working shuttle, a rusted mining tug, anything with a drive core that can light. If she can break atmosphere, she can lead the dreadnought off Mercer's trail. If she can't, she doesn't finish the thought. Humans don't plan to fail. They plan to hurt the enemy enough that it remembers them forever. She limps down the emergency ladder shaft, but treads scraping ice from the rails. Her helmet light flickers over old warning glyphs. Caution, core drift. Mining zone delta. A memory shivers through her mind when Ghost Wing hijacked the Aegis rigs during the first uprising. Rig engineers, half-starved, welding scrap armor to drilling mechs so they could ram Vakar landers like battering rams. She hits the deck hard, boots echoing through the dark. The hangar yawns open before her, a hollow cathedral of steel, an abandoned promise. Racks of rusted tugs hang like dead wasps from broken clamps. Fuel lines drift loose, frozen into brill vines. A single service crawler squats near the far bulkhead, half covered in frost. Its hull plating bears the old Union mining sigil. Scratched through by decades of war and ruin, Ava limps to it, slams her fist against the hatch. Nothing. Dead batteries. She pops the side panel, gutting the conduit with trembling hands. Come on, you old bastard, she mutters, voice thick with pain and memory. She reroutes the ignition node to her suit's microcore. Sparks spit. The crawler coughs. A dying breath of promise. A single console light flickers to life. Ava lets out a choked laugh, part relief, part defiance. She climbs into the narrow cockpit, slams the hatch behind her. The canopy is cracked. The grav seals leak air, but it might fly. She slides her wrist pad into the crawler's calm port, rerouting emergency power to the thrusters. The cockpit hums. Fragile, but alive. Her visor feeds her Mercer's ping. The shuttle is out past Ganymede's orbit now. If she launches, the ravenous veil will see her. It will turn. It will follow. Maybe that buys Mercer a chance to slip beyond the Vakar's net. Slip back to the lunar hidden bases where the uprising flickers like an old candle. She punches in the ignition code. The crawler's engines thrum, a heartbeat in the cold. Rosalind, Mercer's voice cuts through her. Helmet, what the hell are you doing? You're dead weight out there. Get to a hide hole. We'll send back a tug. No, Ava rasps. She watches the dreadnought drift closer, its shadow swallowing the ring debris in its path. They're hunting. You now. If you scatter, they'll find you. If they follow me, you run clean. Mercer's silence is heavy, full of things unsaid between ghosts and survivors. At last, his voice comes back, softer than she's ever heard it. Die loud, ghost. She almost smiles. Loud as I can. The crawler's thrusters belch plasma into the hangar's stale air. Metal shrieks as the clamps give way. Ava's. Vision swims, blood loss, cold, the crushing weight of what comes next. She grips the battered flight stick. The bay doors don't open on command anymore, so she rams them. The crawler tears through the hangar's rusted maw in a blossom of shrapnel and decompression. Then the void swallows her. Stars bloom across the canopy. Jupiter looms huge below, and the ravenous veil turns, drawn to the spark it came to. Kill. 1,000 Vakar eyes flicker awake, red against the black. Ava flips her transponder on. One last message to the hidden colonies listening on pirate channels. The rebels clinging to lunar caves, the scattered fleets that never knelt. This is Ava Rosslyn of Ghost Wing, still breathing, still fighting. If you're listening, remember why we burned. Behind her, the crawler's reactor core glows hotter than it should, an old mining trick, repurposed for defiance. For the first time, the strongest species in the galaxy sees something it has never understood, a human who refuses to die quietly. The crawler shudders as Ava rides its dying reactor straight toward the ravenous veil. Sparks spit from the flight console, the ancient mining rig groaning like an old war horse forced to charge one last time. Her vision, tunnels in and out, blood loss blooming like frost across her HUD. She clamps a shaking hand over her side, feels the warmth seeping between her fingers, and keeps her eyes locked on the Vakar dreadnought. Karith watches her approach. Inside its hive core, tendrils of living circuitry pulse with the confusion only a species that has never known real resistance can feel. Ava's crawler is a broken, leaking thing. No weapon worth a name, no fleet behind it, just a single, dying human threading the wreckage of Jupiter's ring straight into the maw of a nightmare. A single ember, and yet the dreadnought shifts its entire formation to intercept. Target, spark greater than less than erasure protocol engaged inside the crawler's cockpit. Ava wipes blood from her visor. Her father's voice is there again. If you can't win, cost them everything it takes to stop you. She forces a grim smile. He'd have loved this. His girl ramming an ancient mining rig down a hive lord's throat. Her hands tremble on the flight stick. Somewhere out there, Mercer's voice cracks through the static. A ghost pleading through a hurricane. Rosslyn, don't be a damn fool. We need you. You hear me? We need. Ava cuts the channel. There's no time for mercy in a suicide run. She's seen too many die because they hesitated. She'll buy them this window with everything she has left. Below her, the crawler's overclocked core wails in protest. Warning glyphs dance across the cracked display. Containment breach imminent. Ava reroutes what little power remains into the forward thrusters. The crawler lurches, plates shuddering as it skims debris fields like a meteor with a pulse dot in the void. The Vakar drones fan out, obsidian insects spinning webs of defense. They spit ultraviolet pulses through the black, signals that twist the hulls of lesser species like paper. But Ava's not a species. She's a spark with teeth. She flips the crawler's columns wide open. The old ghost wing override Mercer taught her when they were nothing but kids hiding in Europa's ice caves. Her voice cuts through the darkness like a blade. This is for New Shanghai, for Kyoto, for the ring cities you broke and the names you thought you'd forget. The drones close. Bioplasma arcs slash past her canopy. The crawler rattles like it's trying to tear itself apart before the Vakar can do it for her. Ava grits her teeth and punches the throttle until her fingers numb from the vibration. Behind her, the reactor core spits fire through the crawler's ragged belly. An old trick. Rig a mining charge to chain react the core once it hits containment. If she times it wrong, it's just a firework. What if she threads the needle the strongest species in the galaxy will lose a piece of its invincible veil dot far below the chaos? On a hidden relay under Callisto's ice crust, a ragged crew huddles around a flickering holoscreen. Miners, runaways, broken soldiers who should have given up long ago. They watch Ava's tiny transponder blink like a lone ember, drifting toward the dreadnought's dark shadow. One child, maybe 10, whispers into the cold, "Is that her, the ghost?" An old tech, face lined with scars that mark every uprising that failed before this. Rest a hand on the kid's shoulder. That's her. Watch close. Little flame. Watch what it means to be us. Ava is almost there. The ravenous veil looms so huge now it devours the stars. Her crawler rattles against the dreadnought's gravity well. Pulled forward like an insect caught in a predator's throat, Karith feels her. The Hive Lord's tendrils flex through its armored corridors, drones pivoting in perfect, cold formation. Ultraviolet pulses ripple, consume the spark, leave nothing. Too late. Ava's mouth twists in a grin so fierce it hurts. Try me. She slams her palm onto the core's manual override. Warning glyphs bloom red. She keys her suit's last emergency beacon, locking it to the crawler's trajectory. She doesn't pray. There's no time. But her last thought is a promise whispered like a flame in the dark. You'll remember this. The Vakar drones swarm her canopy. Obsidian carapaces clashing against the crawler's rusted skin. Bioplasma floods the flight deck. Alarm scream in her helmet. Ava screams back, a sound ripped from every grave the Vakar made on human soil. Then she closes her eyes dot and pulls the core release. The crawler's belly glows molten white. A miniature star born from rust and defiance. The explosion punches through the vacuum like a fist of pure will. It tears a hole in the dreadnought's flank. Plating peels away in blossoms of slag and vaporized bone metal. The ravenous veil shudders, its corridors echoing with ultraviolet shrieks that sound almost afraid. On Callisto, the relay crew watches that lone ember bloom into a storm. The old tech breathes out a ragged laugh that tastes like hope, strongest species in the galaxy. He murmurs, then they met us. Ava drifts in the wreckage, a single heartbeat lost in a spreading cloud of burning ruin. Her suit's alarms fade. Her breath slows, her eyes close, somewhere beyond the debris. The ravenous veil lurches back into the dark, wounded, leaking drones into Jupiter's pull. They tried to snuff her out, but the spark is out there now, and the strongest species in the galaxy just learned that humans don't kneel, they ignite. The ravenous veil drifts crippled above Jupiter's storms, a wound where its perfect scales once gleamed. Inside its hive core, Karith sees, in the silence of its living command spire, a single human spark has carved an absence that echoes through every Vakar drone's shared mind. Never, not once in 1,000 conquests, has a prey species scarred a Hive Lord's vessel alone. But the ember that did it is drifting, fragile, dying, half buried in debris cloud and static. Karith's tendrils brush the fractured calms. Node, its mind pulses through ultraviolet channels. The drones circle the wreckage like sharks in black water. They find the crawler's slagged remains. They find the spark inside. Target. Spark capture Ava Rosslyn tastes blood and metal every time she breathes. The impact slammed her against the crawler's cockpit wall when the core blew. Now she floats half conscious, suit leaking heat. One glove half melted to the cracked canopy glass. Her visor flickers. Static ghosts of her father's voice murmur at the edge of her hearing. She tries to move. A hand twitches, numb, beyond the cracked cockpit. She sees the drones closing in. Obsidian limbs curl through drifting shrapnel. Red optics pulse against the backdrop of Jupiter's storms. She wonders if Mercer made it, if the shuttle broke the dragnet, if the flame she lit is enough to remind the hidden colonies that they're more than prey. She wants to believe it, but she can't see the stars anymore. Her eyes slip shut, just for a moment. Somewhere far below, buried under Callisto's ice, the old tech hunches over a flickering relay feed. Static dances where Ava's transponder used to be. Mercer's voice booms through the cold cave, raw with rage. Don't let her be gone. Don't you say that. Find me a signal. The tech's trembling fingers run the cracked controls again. A faint pulse flickers, weak, irregular, like a heartbeat that refuses to stop. There. The tech rasps, still warm, still fighting. Mercer swallows hard. His face is gone, eyes burning under the flickering console light. Round him, miners and scavengers crowd the cavern. Word of Ava's sacrifice ripples through them like oxygen through flame. One woman steps forward, Alarakan, once a resistance pilot before the Vakar shattered her squadron at Titan's edge. Her voice cuts through the whispers. If she's alive, we bring her home. Mercer shakes his head. You saw what she did to that dreadnought. It's hunting her. We fly near. We're dead before we breach her hull. Alara leans closer, her eyes to shards of old starship steel. So we do what humans always do. We turn what they don't expect into what they fear. Ava stirs as cold clamps her bones. She can't feel her fingers anymore, but she hears something, faint, familiar, a whisper across her visor, the sound of an old code. Ghost wing recall. Her eyes flutter open. A shape drifts through the debris, a mining tug, bulk plating, scorched and rusted. Its lights stutter through the wreckage like a beacon in fog. Inside the tug's cockpit, Alara grips the ancient stick. Beside her, Mercer mutters curses through clenched teeth, rerouting every last drop of reactor power to the grav hooks. The tug's comms crackle to life in Ava's helmet, a voice she thought she'd never hear again. Ghost wing never leaves. Its own in the black, Rosalind, braced for a hard grab. She wants to answer, she wants to laugh, but all she manages is a ragged exhale as the tug's magnetic hooks slam into her broken crawler. And pull, Karith feels the spark slip from its drone's reach. In the hive core, ultraviolet pulses flare through its tendrils, broadcasting fury. The drones surge forward, shredders primed to carve the tug before it clears the debris field. But the tug's engines scream, flaring blue as Alara overrides every safety log left in its battered frame. The old hull groans. Plasma coils spit, arcs that dance over cracked bulkheads. Inside the cockpit, Mercer jams the throttle forward. Come on, fly, you bastard. A swarm of drones closes behind them, cold, precise, unstoppable. Ava watches through flickering eyes as stars smear across the canopy glass. She can feel her heart slowing. She feels the old promise humming through the tug's battered bones. Humans break before they bend. But when they break, they cut dot at the edge of Jupiter's gravity well. The tug's grav thrusters shudder, tearing free of the drone swarm's pursuit corridor. The drones slam into debris, ricocheting off spinning wreckage from Ava's detonated crawler. A few scrape the tug's flanks, but they can't catch what refuses to kneel dot in the cockpit. Alara roars, teeth bared as she hammers the course to Callisto's under ice relay. Hold on, Ghost, she whispers under her breath. We're not done yet. Deep inside the ravenous veil, Karith coils around the dreadnought's living core. It feels the embers slip beyond its reach. For the first time in centuries, a single prey species has wounded it. Not with fleets, not with mass weapons, but with one human stubborn refusal to die. Karith has tendrils spread across the star map, reaching past Jupiter, past Sol's edge, past every colony the Vakar crushed under claw and plasma. It feels the ripple Ava left behind, the spark that will spread through every last frozen mine shaft, every ghost fleet, every child listening to stories of Earth that refused to kneel. It speaks to its drones and ultraviolet pulses that echo. Like a dark vow, this fire will not spread, but Karith feels something it has never known before. The first crack in the Empire's perfect hunger dot, and in that fracture, humanity waits. The tug's hull groans under the strain of its mad flight. Within its rusted belly, Ava Rosalind lies strapped to an old med cot, barely conscious, suit half-sealed with emergency foam, blood crusting the corners of her mouth. Her eyes flicker, open when the deck shudders again, rattling ice from overhead pipes. Outside, Callisto's frozen waste stretched to the horizon, a glacial graveyard of forgotten resistance bunkers and mining shafts, older than half the stars humans now claim. Beneath that ancient ice, Alara Kin guides the tug into a hidden crevasse, engines sputtering as the last drops of fuel burn dry. They make it, barely dot the hangar hatch grinds shut behind them, sealing the tug in darkness lit only by flickering hazard lamps. Alara shuts the engines down with a hiss of depressurization. She slumps back in her cracked pilot seat, breath fogging the air, fingers raw where they tore free a control panel that jammed mid-descent. Mercer staggers past her, shoving old crates aside as he reaches Ava's side. He pulls off his cracked helmet, revealing eyes ringed in exhaustion and something more dangerous, hope. He kneels, gloved hands hovering near her faceplate. Ava, hey, Ghost, open those damn eyes. She does, just barely. Her voice scrapes out like gravel under frost. Still, breathing. He laughs, a sound half relief, half disbelief. He presses his forehead to hers through the helmet glass. You better be. You stubborn Ghost. They carry her through the ice tunnels, down past iron bulkheads sealed by generations of miners, who turned this place into more than a hideout, a seabed. The resistance was always here. It just needed one spark to remind it how to burn. Ava drifts in and out, catching glimpses between shadows, children huddled in old blankets beside flickering heaters, engineers welding scraps into pulse rifles, A wall covered in names scratched deep into the metal, so they'll never fade. Her own name is there now, Ava Roslin, but someone has carved something new beneath it. We are the fire. Alara strides beside the makeshift stretcher. She wears a coat stitched with too many old squadron patches, ghosts of dead wings stitched together into something whole. She watches Ava like a hawk that's found its prey, not to kill it, but to keep it alive at all costs. Dom Mercer whispers beside her ear as they move. They know, Ava, your blast on the Veil. The relay bounced it system-wide before they jammed it. Lunar bases know. The Mars holdouts know. The Ceres belt knows. They're awake now. Ava's breath fogs her visor. Good, she rasps. About time, beneath the relay's command deck. The leaders gather, not politicians. The Vakar ended those on the first orbital day. These are the ones who survived by never surrendering. Scavenger captains. Engineers who turned broken haulers into mines and bombs. Ex-soldiers who kept every gun they buried. Alara stands at the old ops table, a flickering holo map of Sol's battered orbits flickering above. Corroded metal. She speaks with no ceremony, just cold truth. The Vakar know we're here now. That dreadnought's not drifting off to lick its wounds. It's called in its kin, interceptors, hive ships, erasure drones. They'll glass this moon to the core if they must. Mercer leans over the map, jabbing at a faint ripple of data, orbital mines from a half-century ago. Relics left by Earth's last defense fleets before they cracked. We can patch these. Maybe set up a kill corridor, bleed them if they get close. Alara's eyes flick to him, then to the men and women gathered in the dark. Bleeding them is not enough. We're not here to survive the day. We're here to remind them that humans don't die on our knees. A silence settles. The Khanat hums like an electric wire pulled to tight. Then someone whispers, "What's the plan?" Hours pass. In the infirmary corner, Ava drifts back toward consciousness. Pain pins her to the cot like iron stakes. She can hear the distant murmur of voices. Alara, Mercer, others shaping a plan out of scraps and old grudges. A figure steps from the shadows, a kid, maybe 14, wrapped in a coat too big for their frame. They stare at her helmet visor, wide-eyed. "You're the ghost, right?" The kid whispers. "You blew a hole in the strongest thing out there." Ava's cracked lips switch into a ghost of a smile. "Not strong enough." The kid kneels, placing something cold and sharp in her palm, a piece of the crawler's hull. Scorched black where the core blew. "My mom says we keep pieces, so we remember." Ava closes her fingers around the shard. It bites her glove, grounding her in pain and purpose. Good, she breathes. Remember, above Callisto. Hidden eyes flicker to life, old defense satellites that shouldn't work anymore. Hackers rewire them, coil cores wake from cold sleep. Iron cannons that haven't fired since Earth fell warm like sleeping giants. The Vakar dreadnought drifts closer, dragging its swarm behind it. Drawn by the spark it failed to snuff out. Inside the relay bunker, Ava Roslin forces herself upright, pain screaming through every nerve. Mercer tries to push her back down. She snarls through clenched teeth. "Help me stand, Mercer. If they're coming, I'll watch them burn." She limps to the ops deck, Alara's voice trailing off as every head turns. They see her, pale, shaking, half dead, but alive, unbowed. Her eyes lock on the map where the Vakar ships drift toward Callisto's thin crust. She plants the crawler shard on the table, a scar of black metal in a sea of cold stars. "They wanted to know if we kneel." Ava whispers, "Let's remind them how we answer." Outside, the void shudders as the strongest species in the galaxy closes in. Certain this time the spark will die dot, and for the first time, the spark is not alone. The ice under Callisto's crust trembles like a drum skin struck by an ancient hand. Above, the ravenous veil and its swarm slide into position, black shapes against Jupiter's glow. Their ultraviolet signals flickering through the silence like a vow, erasure. Inside the relay bunker, Ava Roslin braces herself against the ops table. Her vision swims with pain, but her mind is clear. Clearer than it's been since the first drone tore New Shanghai apart. Beside her, Alara Ken issues final checks into half-broken headsets. Mercer cross-checks orbital mines blinking awake for the first time in decades. They are outgunned, outnumbered, half-starved, and they've never looked more alive. Mercer leans close to Ava, voice low. "They'll hit us with everything. If we go dark, the colonies will wake up screaming." Ava finishes, her breath ragged. "So let's make it worth screaming about." She glances at the crawler shard on the table. A piece of her. A piece of them, she curls her fingers around it until the edge digs into her palm. It grounds her in pain, in memory, in promise. Above them, warning klaxons wail through the tunnels. The Vakar drones have found the entrance shafts. On the surface, half-buried gun emplacements roar to life. Old planetary defense turrets rise from the frost like iron giants. Their first salvos paint the night with fire. Lances of kinetic tungsten punching into the first wave of Vakar shredders. The drones break formation, spiraling into flares of plasma and frozen debris, but the swarm adapts. Always, drones reweave, their formation mid-attack, pushing through the minefield. Bioplasma streaks back, carving smoking craters into the ice. A hidden entrance tunnel collapses in on itself. A dozen volunteers sealed inside forever to stop a breach. Mercer's voice cracks through the comms. They're folding around. The flanks, we've got maybe minutes. Elara's eyes gleam in the flickering glow of tactical readouts. Then we buy every second we can. All charges primed. A chorus of battered voices answers from the tunnels, ready, deep under the ice. In a narrow shaft patched with old hull plates, a young engineer holds his detonator tight to his chest. His breath fogs the air as Vakar drones skitter through the breach overhead, slicing the corridor apart. He thinks of the stories, the ghosts who would not die, the humans who learned how to burn. He whispers his mother's name, then he touches the switch. Far above, an entire tunnel mouth erupts in blue fire, sending shards of ancient ice skyward. The shockwave hurls the lead drones back into their own swarm. Confusion. That cracks their perfect advance for seconds. Seconds are enough. In the bunker. Ava leans over the ops map. Her voice is raw steel. Get me Oopling to the mines. Mercer hesitates. Your suit's fried. We can't. She slams the crawler shard down. Find a way. Elara moves first, rerouting a fiber channel. To the cracked compad, she jabs wires into the scorched patch on Ava's suit. Sparks spit as the Ooplink SYNCS.Ava breathes out. Old mining codes, same ones we used on Aegis 7. They think in perfect grids, lines, angles, inevitable paths. We don't. Her trembling fingers tap out ancient sequences on the surface. Half-buried minds flicker to new life, blinking green across a sea of static. Mercer's eyes widen. You're threading them like a pulse line. Ava's smile is savage. A dying wolf bearing fangs at a bear. No grid, no path, just chaos. The Vakar swarm surges again. They pour down through the fractured tunnels, unstoppable, unfeeling. Karith's mind pulses through them, an ultraviolet storm dot in the dreadnought's hive core. Karith tastes victory. The prey is cornered. The ember will be smothered. It broadcasts its triumph through a million eyes. The spark will not spread. But then the minefield detonates, not all at once, but in a jagged sequence of chain reactions that loop around the advancing swarm like a living net. Ice cracks, steel groans. Entire segments of the frozen crust collapse, burying the drones under avalanches older than any. Vakar conquest. The swarm convulses, its perfect mind splintered by panic for the first time in centuries. For a moment, the unstoppable force doesn't know where to go. And that is when humans strike hardest. Elara's voice cuts through the bunker. Launch. The relay spike, an ancient transmission core, hidden beneath meters of ice, roars awake. The spike fires through a shaft drilled into vacuum. A beam of raw data screaming across the black toward the hidden colonies, the ghost fleets. The shattered outposts clinging to old hopes. Inside the transmission, the footage of Ava's crawler tearing the veil apart. The drones burning under Callisto's crust. The sound of Ava Roslyn's voice. Broken and iron-strung, we are still here. We burn. Come stand with us. In the dreadnought's hive core, Karith shrieks into ultraviolet channels, rage, confusion, dread. Its drones claw at the collapsing ice, tearing their way toward the bunker's beating heart. Inside, Ava slumps against the ops table, her strength all but gone. Mercer steadies her. Elara raises her pulse rifle and steps into the hatchway where drones will soon pour through. They stand together, broken, defiant, human. The strongest species in the galaxy did not expect this. Above Callisto, the first ripples answer. Old hulls flicker from dark orbit, hidden gunboats, pirate skiffs, mining rigs rigged with rail lances. Sparks catching sparks. One by one, they turn their bows toward the ravenous veil. A fleet of scrap and rage and memory dot for the first time. The Vakar Empire feels something stronger than hunger. It feels fear. Above Callisto's frozen skin, the night becomes a battlefield of sparks and ruin. The hidden fleets come in ragged waves, scavenged haulers bristling with rail cannons, pirate corvettes armored in welded plating, lunar gunboats patched with more hope than hull. They dive at the ravenous veil like wasps tearing at a beast's hide. Each shot leaves another scar in the dreadnought's perfect black scales. Every scar is a story, a name from a forgotten colony, a family dragged screaming into the void, a city that burned when earth cracked, but whose ghosts still breathe through gun barrels. And jury-rigged torpedoes dot inside the relay bunker. The ice walls quake under the drone swarm's dying assault. Sparks rain from the old bulkheads, the stale air thick with ozone and sweat. Alara Ken braces her pulse rifle at the main hatch, breath fogging the dim lights. Mercer kneels beside Ava Roslin, a makeshift medpack pressed tight to the wound. That should have killed her hours ago. Ava's eyes flicker open. She hears the thunder above. She hears human voices crackle through battered headsets, voices from Ceres, Luna, hidden Martian vaults, ghost ships drifting in Saturn's rings, standing by, Ghost Wing, for Shanghai, for the ones they thought they erased. She tries to speak, but her throat gives only a rasp. Mercer leans closer, voice raw. It worked, Ava. You did it. They're here, all of them. They're not running anymore. Ava closes her eyes. The pain floats with her now, distant, insignificant, compared to the roar of a species remembering itself. Outside, the ravenous veil convulses. Corythas' high mind surges with ultraviolet pulses. Command shrieked across its dying swarm. It tries to pull the drones back into order, but they fall in burning clusters through Jupiter's shadow, shredded by rail bursts and asteroid mind. Shrapnel, the dreadnought's hull splits like old bark under too many storms. Flares of burning atmosphere vent into the black. For the first time in its ageless reign, Corythas, the raw animal panic its victims always knew, and understands it too late. Deep under the ice, Alara feels the ground tremble with each orbital strike. She glances back at Ava, that small figure slumped against the comm rack, blood staining her collar, eyes open but far away. Mercer's voice is hoarse. We can evac her, Alara, once it breaks orbit, but Alara shakes her head. She sees it in Ava's face, the truth that's carried in the bones of every rebel. Whoever carved a name into steel so it wouldn't be lost. Some sparks are not meant to be carried away. They're meant to be seen when they burn dot above. The scrap fleet converges on the dreadnought. One final run, gunships screaming through drone fire. Mighty rigs igniting fusion cores like battering rams. Corythas drones lash out in ultraviolet fury, but for every human hull that shatters, 3 more charge through the breach. They don't come from mercy. They come to carve their story into the Empire's perfect memory. Ava's hand trembles. Over the comm panel, Mercer steadies her wrist. Together, they press the relay spike one last time. Across the burning sky, her voice echoes through every stolen channel. This is Ghost Wing. This is humanity. We are not prey. We are not gone. We remember. Outside, the fleet answers her with fire. The ravenous veil ruptures along its living spine, a wound no Vakar hive can heal. Corythas' last shriek spills into the void in ultraviolet screams that the stars will carry long. After its drones fall silent, a final chain of explosions ripples through its armored belly, scattering pieces of the strongest species in the galaxy into Jupiter's storms. Minutes later, the hidden tunnels under Callisto fall silent. The last drones flicker and fail. Humans drag open bulkheads, pull broken defenders from frozen shafts, gather the wounded where old ration crates serve as makeshift beds. Mercer sits beside Ava, holding her limp hand. He feels the faintest pulse, so small, yet stronger than all the dreadnoughts that came to kill her. Alara stands at the bulkhead, watching the feed from orbit. Sparks drift through the black, broken ships, scattered drones, debris from an Empire's tooth that finally cracked. Behind her, miners, orphans, and ragged fighters gather. They stand together because they understand. The spark didn't just break the veil, it broke the lie. Humans bend. They break. But when they break, they cut, and the cut never heals the same. Later, when the ice quakes settle and the last wounded have been carried deeper into the tunnels, Mercer sits alone with Ava. He brushes her hair back from her blood-crusted brow. Her breath rattles like an old engine that refuses to stall. He whispers to the dark, to the ghosts, to the black between stars. You showed them what we are. You made them remember. He closes her eyes gently, not in grief, but in gratitude. Above Callisto, the scrap fleet drifts among burning debris. Signal relays flash alive, a wave of human voices carrying a promise that will leap from ship to ship, moon to moon, ruin to ruin. Everywhere the Vakar once ruled unchallenged. That promise will spread like fire. Years from now, children will gather in the iron tunnels under new outposts carved from the Veil's dead hull. They will run their fingers over old hull shards scratched with names. Ava Roslin, Ghost Wing, we are the fire. They will whisper her words into the dark. We are still here. We burn. We remember. And in the endless night, the stars will carry our name. And now, the stars carry our name.